Catus. Maximus here, this time with the short video about the Park Tool pedal wrench. They have a professional version and what they call homeowners more standard edition. This is the more standard edition. 13 bucks online. These things tend to run, it depends on the bike shop, but they could be $14 to $18 on the bike shop. I like to do certain videos about, individual bike tools, because there's like, a chain tool, an Allen key set, a pedal tool. There's only a few tools that you really need to do just about all the common service. Park advertises heat-treated spring steel. There has been some issues with, they should have, once again, charged a couple more dollars for this and made this out of chrome molybdenum or chrome vanadium, some type of more established tool steel. Although I do appreciate that it's a budget tool. If we take a look at the sizing, and that's kind of what annoys me about this. You can see it's almost a ½ millimeter oversized. I mean, if we rock this back and forth until we get to the smallest measurement. Oh, there we go. Not quite ½ millimeter, but if we get to the smallest measurement, 5.17 millimeters, they could have made it tighter. Although I can once again understand a little bit of oversizing, because not all pedals and the two flats that they go across are created equal. Here's some Welgo pedals. They're like a standard grade, I would say, or they're a pretty well-known brand. They're not the best, but they're certainly not the worst. But on Welgo pedals, they actually tend to have really well-sized flats. So a wrench on this Welgo pedal fits pretty darn nice. Now, if we go to this Kona pedal, its flats, we can see that there's quite a bit of play. It's because the Kona's flats are just a little bit under 15 millimeter, a little bit annoying. Anyway, quickly, to remove a bicycle pedal, it's the left-hand pedal that has left-hand threads. That's the easiest thing to remember. So it's righty-loosey on the left side and righty-tighty on the right side. And it's actually not that complicated. I usually do a normal amount of torque. Brace this against my leg. We'll see how this works. I do kind of get them tight. So this pedal's been removed relatively recently. Usually just holding it with your hand and torquing is all you need. You don't have to wrench down. The reason the threads are lefty on the left and righty on the right is something called succession. So as you're pedaling, there is a little bit of binding force. A good pedal will have good bearings, but what it does is as you're pedaling, it causes the screw threads to want to tighten up. And so since you have one pointing this way and one pointing this way, each pedal needs to have threads the opposite of each other. So as you're cranking around, the pedals are always wanting to stay tight, rather than a situation where maybe this left pedal, if it had standard threads, not left-hand threads, then if it was loose for some reason, you changed pedals and forgot to tighten it, then as you were riding, the pedal would actually want to unscrew itself. So that's why they do the opposite threads on the left-hand side. Anyway, the working length, that would be from the center of the open end to the tip of the handle, 11 inches. So it gives you a decent amount of length. The big issues I've read is, since they're using spring steel, which is a good steel, but not the best, obviously there's a lot better tool steels, is if you have really stuck on rusted pedals and you have to stand on the wrench to get them loose, that there's one of two issues. One, because it's sheet metal, these teeth will start to splay out this way. Well, it'll go sideways on you, and then the wrench will slip, damaging the flats on the pedal. And so I think the biggest criticism is even if they're going to use spring steel, they need to make it thinner. So 3.5 millimeters, or a little over 1/8 of an inch, but it's 3.5 millimeters thick. They should have probably made this 4 or even 5 millimeters thick. Once again, they could still use spring steel. Being 4.5, 5 millimeters thick would still fit in even the tightest gaps between the pedal and the crank arm. That's the reason there are sheet metal, is because the distances between the side of the pedal and the crank arm are often too narrow to actually just use a standard box wrench. The end of a box wrench is just too thick in many times. But Park could have made this one a little bit thicker. Most situations, it'll work just fine for people. In tough situations, you'll want to be careful. And Wish Park made it just, once again, a little bit thicker. That would probably be better than even changing the grade of the steel, because then it just gives it more surface area and just, a bit more meat to keep the sheet metal from wanting to display. That's, one of the reasons they make this head so darn large, is to try to spread it out this way and to give it a little bit more rigidity. But adding more thickness, they could actually save material because the head wouldn't have to be quite so large. Otherwise, as far as any bike tools that somebody's going to have besides a little folding Allen wrench set, a tool to fix and remove chains, I think a pedal wrench is probably it's probably number 3, but it's easily like one of the top 5 tools anybody who works on their own bike should have. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who has been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.